Kampala is a city nestled across 7 lush hills and originally planned by the colonial government for 150,000 inhabitants. Some of the lasting vestiges of the British colonial government include blueprints for all major towns consisting of a proper planning code, design standards, and a semblance of building regulations. However, with the rapid urban migration, the expanded city is now dotted with a shabby collection of slums, poorly planned buildings, open sewers, congestion, as well as choke on heavily polluted air spilled in the atmosphere from second-hand vehicle engines and garbage. The last national census put Kampala's population at 1.5 million residents and an estimated daily workforce of 3.5 million commuting from neighboring districts. With an estimated expanse of 189 square kilometers, the city is also multidimensional, political, industrial, commercial, and the capital, the seat of the central government, resulting in two knee-jerk urban planning. There have been numerous attempts, as well as past and present, to remodel the city of 5 divisions, 99 parishes, and 891 villages, but all efforts are seemingly unenforceable due to, among others, politics, poor planning, congestion, and graft.
That flyover, and we had also planned to have a flyover running from Nkrumah up to Nsambya Junction there. So you just come to Nkrumah, shoo, you go up there. Now we have complicated that plan by constructing that kiosk called, what is that new mall called? That new huge kiosk there. Huh? Go? No. Along Nsambya Junction there. Arena is a huge kiosk. It's one very big kiosk called a mall, because it is sitting in a corridor which is designed for huge infrastructure development. We're supposed to have that road widened. Arena Mall shouldn't be there.
Kampala, according to the City Hall, the seat of the Kampala Capital City Authority, has a road network of 2,110 kilometers, of which only 620 kilometers is tarmacked and 1,489 kilometers unpaved. Nakawa Division has the longest network of 180 kilometers of tarmac roads, trailed by the Central Division with 148 kilometers and Machindye with 114 kilometers. Machindye has the longest network of 391 kilometers of unpaved roads, followed by Nakawa, Lubaga, and Kawempe. Since the creation of the City Authority in 2011, which placed the city family in the hands of the executive, which to some extent amplified friction due to competing centers of power, tarmacking of roads has been a cash cow that has pitted camps at City Hall against one another in procurement dogfights. In this financial year, the authority plans to reconstruct and upgrade a total of 69.7 kilometers of roads, 5 kilometers of associated drainages, 134 kilometers of pedestrian walkways, and signalize 22 junctions using a $288 million or 1 trillion shilling pass from the African Development Bank. The contracts for the projects have since been forwarded to the funder for no objection, but the procurement, according to insiders, renewed rivalries following claims of contractors paying huge kickbacks to influence the award of lucrative tenders. This corruption in the procurement, among other factors, leads to the inflated cost in the unit cost per kilometer of a road constructed in the city according to evidence in the possession of office bearers. The Kampala City Lord Mayor, Erias Lukwago, during his State of the City address on May 31st, was outspoken about this graft which is seeping across the cloistered offices at City Hall. He revealed that, averagely, KCCA is spending a staggering 10 billion shillings on a kilometre or less of each road constructed.
We presented some quarterly reports on this, and you need to interrogate some of these issues. I am not satisfied with the costing of these roads.
While City Hall is paying this much for a kilometre, Lukwago lamented the sloppiness and incompetence exhibited by some of the contractors, which has resulted into inordinate delays and shoddy works on some sections of the roads. This means that additional exorbitant costs are incurred in patching the same roads every now and then.
When you go to the bank to borrow, the interest is very high, and when contractors are bidding, they factor in the cost of money, the cost of equipment, and all these things. Of course, one might say that how come that in other countries in the region, the situation is different? Yes, the cost of money is in some countries lower. The cost of doing business is lower. You know, looking at fuel and things like that, the price is. And then also, you have the cost of building and retaining relationships for business. Some people call it corruption. That if you are going to tarmac, for example, 1 kilometer of a road in Kampala, that a third of that being paid through corruption, that affects the project significantly. So for every 3 kilometers, you would have an extra kilometer.
For instance, Locally Road in Machinde Division, which is only 7.71 kilometers, was constructed at a cost of 70.5 billion shillings. This means that each kilometer cost at least 10 billion shillings. The Kabusu-Bunamwaya-Lweza Road in Lubaga Division, which stretches for about 8 kilometers, cost an astronomical 93 billion shillings. This means that each kilometer was constructed at a whopping 11.7 billion shillings. The Kulambiro Ring, Najera Stretch, measuring about 9.77 kilometers, cost 90.4 billion shillings, meaning that each kilometer cost 9.2 billion shillings. Gilbert Senduga, the Senior Africa Regional Manager at the Infrastructure Transparency Initiative, a global initiative for improving transparency and accountability in public infrastructure, told NTV that part of the problem is the opaque tendering process.
Corruption is there because of lack of transparency. When there is transparency, when everyone knows everything about the project, they are able to ask the right things, the right questions, and they should get answers. So when there is lack of transparency, and this helps to kind of create an environment where contractors can collude with agencies to win projects and contracts. And when this happens, you find that the cost of the unit cost, say, of a kilometer goes up and up and up because the contractor has to factor in these costs. The other driver of costs is delays occasioned by contractors not having the right of way. People have not been compensated. You know, the project is commissioned to start before they have compensated people. And each time a contractor is on site, he's being paid even when he's not working.
Then there are backdoor dealings and corruption, the jet fuel of contract awards in almost all public procurements.
When you look, for example, in neighboring countries, you find that they are able to do more in less time. In Tanzania, building 20,000 kilometers of road in 1 year. In Kenya also, several kilometers of road. And then you find in Uganda, even after 5 years, we have not done 10,000. So that's what I'm saying, that if every project is delaying, it means that you are going to cover a very, you are going to do little in terms of coverage of these infrastructure projects. But also, if you spend a lot of time in fights, for example, I think in 2015 or 16, for 2 years, they didn't have like a functioning procurement unit.
The Acacia Avenue, stretching 9.77 kilometers, was constructed at a cost of 90.4 billion shillings, meaning each kilometer cost 9.2 billion shillings. Acacia Avenue was constructed by MS China State Engineering Corporation as part of the World Bank funded $175 million, that is 618 billion shillings, Kampala Infrastructure Development Program. However, civil works were beset by delays which irked the World Bank. Former Minister for Kampala and Metropolitan Affairs, Betty Amongi, even wrote to the KCCA Executive Director, Dorothy Kisaka, that I take note that we still have upcoming roadworks to be contracted out, and I hope that you will take cognizance of the record of the company as per the concerns raised by both myself and the Minister of Works and Transport in any future relationship with the company. Rather, China State Engineering Corporation was among the preferred bidders for the upcoming African Development Bank funded projects. In his May 31st State of Kampala address, Lukwago, citing the authority's Public Accounts Committee reports, red flagged numerous accountability queries relating to road construction by individuals, many of whom have since left the institution, but these reports have been in futility with little or no follow-up actions undertaken. For instance, the 2020 Public Accounts Committee report details the blatant use of lump sum prices which tended to facilitate resource hemorrhage through issuance of overpriced contracts. It is reported the contract design of city roads that was estimated to cost 92.6 billion shillings in August 2015 had a 70% increment in a period of only 10 months. The PAC report of review of the World Bank funded projects further reveals damning revelations of 10 billion shillings as the fixed unit cost of a kilometer for nearly all roads, and yet for the upcoming African Development Bank funded projects, the unit cost per kilometer is capped at 2.5 billion shillings. We reached out to City Hall for a comment, but we are told there is no substantive director for engineering and technical services.
So those are some of the things that are cost drivers. I should say that nearly all of them are avoidable. If you get contract management right, then you are going to reduce the risk of conflicts, for example. There's nothing that stops agencies from being transparent on the projects they are doing, where they are going to do them, at what cost, to facilitate people to have a conversation.
Previous audits for the financial years 2016, 2017, 2017, 2018, and 2018, 2019 detail even more rot in the construction of city roads. During the construction of the Bakuli-Nankula-Byakasobe Road, the cost increased by 35%, leading to a loss of at least 4 billion shillings. On the same road, as a result of a contract variation of Bakuli Market Lane of about 1.0 kilometers connecting to Lunguja Road, a distance of 1.6 kilometers, the price increased by 8.6 billion shillings, which means an extra 0.6 kilometers was constructed at an astronomical 18.6 billion shillings. In further variation, Kisalita Road of 0.7 kilometers in Nakawa Division previously costed at 1.3 billion shillings was substituted for Banda Central Road measuring about 0.9 kilometers at a construction cost of 2.6 billion shillings. This means that the extra 0.2 kilometers on Banda Central Road cost 1.3 billion shillings. In per kilometer comparison, the 0.2 kilometer extension was at a rate of 6.5 billion shillings per kilometer, whereas the initial 0.7 kilometer Kisalita Road was costed at 1.8 billion shillings. The unit costs per kilometer of road have been exponentially escalating across the country. Currently, the NTV Township is constructing a stretch of 1.5 kilometers at 25 billion shillings. The costs are even more costly nationally, which the Uganda National Roads Authority struggles to explain. At the turn of the millennium, 22 years ago, a kilometer of road cost, not adjusted for inflation, averagely cost 500 million shillings. 7 years later, in 2007, the cost had shot to 1.5 billion shillings. Coincidentally, after government prioritized road construction, today the average cost per kilometer is between 2 billion shillings and 3 billion shillings. Sendugwa says part of the problem is the dominance of foreign contractors.
By the time a foreign company mobilizes personnel, equipment, and money from where they are up to here, the country has already incurred costs of that. At the end of the project, they also have to demobilize, and also that includes money. So there's need to invest in building local capacity of contractors. Now, we are seeing, because of lack of capacity, government being frustrated and giving directives that this project should be given to company XYZ. But this is going to harm the country even more, because then there's not going to be incentive for local contractors to invest in building their capacity.
Local players are not boosting their capacity, while there is no law to compel joint ventures to facilitate technology transfer. It was predicted that the entry of Chinese firms into the Ugandan market would lower the billing rates per kilometer to $800,000, that is 2.1 billion shillings, compared to the past when the work was dominated by European and American firms. At some point, it was said these were billing $1.2 million, that is 3.1 billion shillings on a kilometer. But that is not the case today. From the time UNRWA was formed in 2008 to the time it was restructured in 2015, syndicated corruption became an institutionalized way of rewarding contracts. One contractor revealed that the monies paid across the board to secure the tender or fees dangled at commission agents is factored in the bidding documents and price.
Constituted a judicial commission of inquiry into
The Justice Catherine Mamgemedide-led commission of inquiry would later reveal that of the 9 trillion shillings allocated to UNRWA between 2009 and 2015, at least 4 trillion shillings was misappropriated. The 9 trillion shillings was used to construct only 1,500 kilometers of roads in the same period, yet according to rates published by the African Development Bank, could have constructed 5,147 kilometers of roads in African markets and beyond.
Corruption is mentioned 19 times in the current NRA manifesto. I don't know what other issues are mentioned more frequently in that manifesto as corruption. Unfortunately, transparency and accountability, one is mentioned twice, another one once in the whole manifesto. So it looks then that it means therefore, or implies that yes, the problem of corruption is recognized, and it seems attention remains at recognition level.
While UNRWA and other urban authorities claim that market rates determine the actual unit cost through competitive bidding, the endemic corruption that has earned its place in Uganda as it has permeated every pocket of society cannot be taken out of the equation.